Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. The chill in the Port Charles air felt sharper than usual, as if the town itself sensed that too many lives were balancing on fragile edges. Inside the Brown Dog Bar, the noise of clinking glasses and low laughter barely masked the tension at one corner table, where Josslyn Jax leaned forward with unmistakable intensity. Giovanni Gio Palmieri shifted in his seat, clearly uncomfortable under Josslyn's sharp gaze. She wasn't smiling, she wasn't flirting, she was interrogating. So Emma just left like that, Josslyn pressed. No warning, no explanation. Gio rubbed a hand over the back of his neck. It wasn't like that, she had plans, she's got her own life. Her own life, Josslyn repeated, in California or somewhere else, because last I checked, Emma's life has always circled back to Port Charles. Gio's jaw tightened. Emma Scorpio Drake wasn't just a name to him, she was history, complicated, layered, and impossible to forget. She might not come back, he admitted quietly. The words hung in the air like smoke. Josslyn's tone softened for a second. You're scared she's leaving for good. I'm not scared, Gio snapped too quickly, then he exhaled. Okay, maybe I am. But Josslyn wasn't finished. What about Anna, she asked. You heard what she said about Cesar Faison. You think Emma's connected to that somehow? That did it, Gio's eyes flashed. Don't drag her into that. I'm not dragging, Josslyn said, though her tone remained relentless. I'm asking, Anna's made claims before, big ones, and if there's even a chance. Stop, Gio stood halfway from his seat before forcing himself back down. You're pushing too hard. For a moment, Josslyn didn't respond. She studied him instead, the tension in his shoulders, the fear he wasn't hiding as well as he thought. Finally, she leaned back. You're right, she said quietly. I crossed a line. Gio blinked, surprised by the sudden retreat. I just don't want Emma getting caught up in something dangerous, Josslyn added. We've all seen what secrets can do in this town. Gio nodded, though his mind was clearly somewhere else, probably at the airport, imagining Emma boarding a plane that might take her far from Port Charles for good. Across town, in the cemetery, the wind stirred fallen leaves around Maxie Jones as she stood before a familiar gravestone. Nathan West's name carved into cold marble had once represented finality, grief, an ending she had slowly learned to survive. But nothing about her life felt final anymore. Her breath trembled as she stared at the stone. You're back, she whispered, and I don't know what that means. Memories flooded her, their wedding, their laughter, the unbearable devastation of losing him. She had rebuilt herself after his death. She had leaned on Spinelli, on Lulu, on her children. She had accepted the impossible. Now the impossible had shifted again. I don't know what my future looks like, she confessed softly. I don't know who I'm supposed to be with, or if I'm strong enough to hurt someone again. Tears slid down her cheeks, but she didn't wipe them away. Meanwhile, at his apartment, Damien Spinelli sat hunched over his laptop, the glow of the screen reflecting off glasses that hid anxious eyes. Lines of code scrolled past, but he wasn't seeing them. Lulu Spencer noticed immediately. You're not even typing, she said gently from across the room. Spinelli sighed and closed the laptop. The Jackal's extraordinary processing capabilities are compromised. Translation. Maxie, he admitted. Lulu's expression softened. She moved closer. You knew this was coming. I knew the possibility existed, Spinelli corrected, but knowing and experiencing are drastically different emotional equations. Nathan's back, Lulu said carefully. That changes everything. It changes everything for her, Spinelli replied, voice tight, and I must assume she will choose the father of her child, her husband, the man she believed dead. Lulu tilted her head. Do you want her to choose you? The question hit harder than Spinelli expected. Yes, he whispered. Then maybe you fight for her. Spinelli shook his head. She deserves clarity, not conflict, and I fear I have already lost. Lulu reached for his hand. You don't know that, Maxie's heart isn't simple. No, Spinelli said sadly, it is extraordinary and I do not wish to fracture it further. At the Port Charles Police Department, the atmosphere was no less charged. Ada Justine Turner stood rigid in front of Dante Falconeri's desk, her expression all business. There cannot be another mistake, she said firmly, not in Cain's case. Dante nodded. We're being careful. Careful isn't enough, Justine shot back. Ric Lansing is already circling, he's raising questions about Harrison Chase. Dante's jaw tightened. About the keys. Yes, Justine confirmed. A witness claims Chase had Michael Corinthos' keys. If that's true, it opens the door to tampering. You think he'd frame Michael? Dante asked. I think obsession makes people reckless, Justine replied, and if Chase believes Michael's responsible for something, anything, he might cross lines. Dante leaned back thoughtful. I'll talk to him, no more blunders. You'd better, Justine warned, because if this case falls apart, it won't just be Drew who pays. At the Quartermaine mansion, emotions were already spiraling out of control. Michael Corinthos stood face to face with Harrison Chase in the kitchen, fury blazing in his eyes. You had my keys, Michael said, voice shaking with anger. You had access to Drew's place. Chase raised his hands defensively. I didn't plant anything. You expect me to believe that? Michael lunged forward, fists flying before anyone could react. Chase staggered back as Michael's punch connected. The sound echoed through the kitchen. Michael, Brooklyn cried, rushing forward. But Michael wasn't done. You're trying to frame me. Chase wiped blood from his lip. You think I'd risk my badge for that? I think you're obsessed, Michael snapped. Brooklyn stepped between them. Enough. Her eyes darted to Chase. Did you have the keys? Chase hesitated just long enough to deepen suspicion. Meanwhile, across town, Ric Lansing sat across from Alexis Davis, lowering his voice conspiratorially. There's a witness, he said, someone who saw Chase with Michael's keys. Alexis frowned. That doesn't prove anything. It suggests opportunity, Ric countered. Alexis leaned back, troubled. Chase would never plant evidence. Wouldn't he? Ric pressed. Not if he thought he was protecting someone. Alexis' mind raced. How would he even get a key to Drew's place? Ric shrugged. That's the question. And as doubt crept into her thoughts, another possibility formed, one she didn't want to consider. Willow. At Willow's house, the tension was quieter but no less real. Wiley lay awake in the guest room, staring at the ceiling. The house felt wrong, different. He missed the Quartermaine mansion, the noise, the familiarity, the sense of safety. He slipped out of bed and padded down the hall, peeking into Drew's room. The sight unsettled him, the emptiness, the lingering sense of someone gone. He hurried back to Willow's room and climbed onto her bed. Mom, he whispered. Willow stirred. Wiley, what's wrong? I don't like it here, he admitted. It feels weird. Her heart clenched. I want to go home, he said softly. Willow swallowed. This is home. But even as she said it, she knew he meant the Quartermaine estate. She smoothed his hair. How about we make this fun? Pancakes for breakfast, a movie. Wiley hesitated. Willow forced a smile. We'll make new memories. Because if she couldn't convince her son that this was home, she risked losing more than just his comfort. And in Port Charles, loss had a way of snowballing. Morning light crept through the curtains at Willow's house, but the warmth it brought did little to ease the knot in her stomach. Wiley's small body was curled beside her, still restless even in sleep. She watched him carefully, wondering how something as simple as a sleepover could unravel so quickly. When he finally opened his eyes, he looked uncertain. Can we go back to the big house? He asked quietly. Willow forced herself to stay calm. Why don't you like it here? He hesitated. It feels sad. The words pierced her. Sad because Drew wasn't there anymore, because too much had changed. She hugged him close. We're going to be okay, she promised. But promises felt fragile lately. At the Quartermaine mansion, Brooklyn was still reeling from the kitchen explosion. You can't just punch people, she scolded Michael. He had my keys, Michael argued. That doesn't mean he framed you. Chase stood stiffly, anger simmering beneath forced composure. I didn't plant anything. Then explain it, Michael demanded. Before Chase could respond, Dante entered the room. Perfect timing, Michael muttered bitterly. Dante's gaze swept over the scene. I need to talk to Chase. Chase nodded. Let's go. As they stepped outside, Dante's tone shifted. Tell me the truth. Did you touch Michael's keys? Chase met his eyes. Yes. Dante exhaled sharply. But I didn't plant evidence, Chase insisted. I was trying to verify something, that's it. You realize how that looks? I know, Chase admitted, but I'm not framing anyone. Back at her office, Alexis replayed Ric's words. If Chase didn't have independent access to Drew's apartment, who did? Her thoughts returned to Willow, to proximity, to opportunity. She hated even considering it. When Ric returned later that morning, she confronted him. You think Willow could have done it? Ric's lips curved faintly. I think everyone deserves scrutiny. Alexis sighed. She's not capable of that. You'd be surprised what people are capable of when they're protecting their family, Ric replied. At the cemetery, Maxie remained lost in thought until she sensed someone behind her. Spinelli. I deduced your likely coordinates, he said softly. She turned, emotions swirling. You don't have to choose today, he added quickly, or tomorrow, or... I hate hurting you, she whispered. He smiled sadly. You are not responsible for my feelings. But they matter. And so do yours. She stepped closer. I don't know what the right answer is. Then perhaps, Spinelli said gently, you follow the one that lets you sleep at night. Meanwhile, at the brown dog, Josslyn spotted G again. I owe you an apology, she said immediately. He studied her. You meant well. I still shouldn't have interrogated you. He nodded slowly. I just don't want Emma leaving because of fear or secrets. Then talk to her, Josslyn said, before it's too late. As tensions escalated across Port Charles, Willow found herself at a crossroads. Wiley clung to her hand as they arrived at the Quartermaine estate later that day. He visibly relaxed, stepping through the doors. Willow noticed, and that terrified her. Because if her son felt safer there than with her, what did that mean? Michael approached, concern replacing earlier fury. He okay? He asked. Willow nodded faintly. He just misses this place. Michael softened. It's his home too. Yes, Willow said quietly, it is. But as she watched Wiley run ahead, laughter finally returning to his voice, she realized something. She couldn't force comfort. She couldn't control perception. And she couldn't escape the growing suspicion swirling around her name. In the police station, Dante updated Ada Turner. We're looking into Chase, he assured her. And Willow, she asked. Dante hesitated. Everyone is under review, he finally said. Port Charles thrived on secrets, on love triangles, on shifting loyalties. But beneath it all were children like Wiley, absorbing tension they couldn't understand. Parents like Willow scrambling to hold families together. And hearts like Maxie's torn between past and present. As night fell once more, the town held its breath. Because no one knew whose truth would unravel first. And in Port Charles, the unraveling was never quiet.